Hello, my name is Brett Bendistis, and this is a short video lecture on legal writing, the tiny nuances of legal writing, and why editing is so important. Now, you've probably reached the end of your memo writing process, and you're thinking to yourself, what are the final things I need to get done to make sure everything's put together? Editing is number one, okay? A few practical lessons when it comes to editing. First, print out anything you write, okay? The reason for that is commonly if you see something on a screen, it may not appear the same way. I often find that I read so fast that I make mistakes that I don't see when I print them out. So always make sure you print your papers out, even if it's multiple times. What I'll commonly do is print something, flip it over, and then print on the back side so I'm not like wasting so much paper. The other thing is reading something out loud. Okay, when you read something out loud, you feel the flow of it and you can sort of note where everything's going. Editing in that regard, right, where we're talking about printing it out, reading it out loud, you should at least budget 2 hours of your time before everything's done before doing it, okay? Now, I've mentioned before that writing is like a boxing match, where by the time you're done, you just can't stand doing something before. That is the value of preparing ahead of time. Whenever I'm putting something together, I try to get my writing done at least a day before it's due. That way, the day it's due, I can wake up fresh. I haven't read it in a while, and really dive into the nuances of something. When something is written at the last minute, it is so painfully obvious that it's not even worth waiting that time. So if you're reading this now, right, or you're watching this now and your paper's due in a little bit, try to get a reasonable version of it, something that you're at very least comfortable with, and then give yourself time to double back over. I think that editing also seems very complicated, but it's actually a very short process. It's usually, I'd say, maybe a fifth or even a tenth of the entire writing process. It's just a small little thing at the end that makes something better. Now, before we get into the nuances, I just want to sort of qualify this above statement and how it relates to wedding. Now, you may have noticed that I am a 35-year-old white guy. Okay? My entire life has been a battle of whether I should dance when I am given a date somewhere, right? I've been to a few proms and I hated dancing before, and I have realized over my life, right, that people don't want to go to dances, weddings, anything with someone who doesn't want to dance. It's just something people don't want to do because dancing is fun. So as I've gotten older, I've just gotten okay with the fact that I have to dance. And what I've noticed, I swear to God, right, is that the way I would say that, the people I've gone to weddings with have ranked it is it's like guys who dance really well. It's like Usher, Justin Timberlake. Right beneath it, it's guys who dance really badly. And then all the way down here, it's guys who don't dance, right? So even if you're awful, if you're just doing it, you will not only get better, but you will be much more fun to be with than the guy who sits at a chair, okay? The key thing with that with legal writing is if you don't write, you are the person at the chair. Anyone who hires you would rather have someone who is bad who tries than someone who doesn't try at all, because you can always get better at legal writing, just like you can always get better at test taking. So never look at this as sort of like you have a skill and you can never get better. Because if you're bad at legal writing, let's try to get you to okay. If you're okay, let's try to get you to good. If you're good, let's go great. And if you're perfect, let's write monuments about you, right? Because you're so good. So the key thing is there's always room for improvement, and being able to really kind of assert the fact that you are comfortable with the IRAC form, that you know how to write, and you can provide a writing sample is of the utmost importance. So if you find yourself writing this memo and it's good, right, you get a good grade, include it with a writing sample even if they don't ask for one, because not a lot of people do that. And if I saw a writing sample, I'd be somewhat impressed by it. So using this memo is more than just a grade. It's more like something that you can really assert later to prove your value to people who are going to hire you. In regard to that, there's a few very key things I want to point out when it comes to writing that are important for your writing as you move forward. One is diction. Okay? Diction is how you write, how everything sounds. You should be valuing clarity above all else. So if your paper isn't clear, if it doesn't make sense to you, it will not make sense to anyone else, right? Symmetry in regard to proper nouns in your memo. If you're writing for plaintiff and it's plaintiff, 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 I'd rather you have a sentence that said plaintiff's mom got in plaintiff's car and went to plaintiff's house than anything else, because that clarity makes sure you know who you're talking about. Sentences being crystal clear and free of repetition. While those nouns can be repetitive, if you've got a sentence that says the same thing twice, Get rid of the second sentence. You don't need to be repetitive. Sentences are more powerful when they stand out on their own. So eliminating all that repetitiveness can be really helpful, right? And then don't overuse legalese. There's often this propensity to want to kind of sound like a lawyer, but more often than not, if you are using terms like quid pro quo or res ipsa loquitur, it sounds fun, but unless you're explaining it in your own words, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Contraction or voice. No contractions, no abbreviations, no first persons, no rhetorical questions. It's just a simple set of rules. The sooner you get more comfortable with saying cannot instead of can't, saying we will instead of we'll, no I, like never ever say I think this or you should do this, and then no rhetorical questions. The reason for the last one is that you're dealing with lawyers. So if you ask me a question where you say, how could anyone find this person guilty? I will find an answer to that question and you will be eating your words. So please never ever do that. I once had a friend who was writing a paper and he was a philosophy major. And all of his paper was like, who's to say what summary judgment is and it isn't? And it was like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? So make sure that you are speaking affirmatively and you're not relying on these old tricks that you might be writing in emails or things like that. Paragraphs. Use them to organize material and thoughts. If you're changing topics, new paragraph. You can never go wrong with lots of paragraphs because I think that they are more organized. They add to clarity and organization. Always have a topic sentence, always have a closing sentence, and incorporate transitions where applicable. Topic sentences, I find that adding one sentence at the very beginning that says like, this is what I'm about to say, always makes the transition easier. So even though it might sound rudimentary, the issue in this problem is blank. The plaintiff will not be able to prove this because that conformity with every sentence and being the same all the way through is not a sign of bad writing. It's a sign of organized, clear writing that can easily be followed. I often find that also my last sentence is always some variation of, ultimately, the plaintiff will win because of blank. Therefore, the defendant's motion should be dismissed. Like just something very quickly that sums up your arguments. Sentences, avoid run-ons. I'd rather have 2 short sentences than 1 long sentence, right? Read your sentences and make sure they sound right. Edit unnecessary terminology. If you're adding a lot of adjectives you don't really need a lot of, you can get rid of them. And then don't use too many quotations. I think that people, again, use quotations because it sounds smart, right? I'm using the law that they're using. But if you can save the quotations for really important things, where if the court has said something that's so great that you're like, I gotta use that, that's perfect because it pops. But if you've got a whole paragraph full of quotations, my eyes glaze over it. So I really think that there's a value in picking and choosing where you're saying something because I think it can be really helpful. Punctuation, avoid commas where they lead to run-on sentences. Never use parentheses and avoid indefinite pronouns altogether. He, she, it, they, their, gone. Again, plaintiff's mom went to plaintiff's car to plaintiff's house. It's just a way to make sure that I know who they all are. If you said, she went to his car and went to his house, well, who are all these people? And you don't have to specify it. Clarity and organization. Finally, with blue booking, form and punctuation, everything's in correct order. Your primary and secondary are there. Using Lexis when applicable. If you can't find a citation form, Lexis can actually give you a hand, and that's perfectly fine. Your abbreviations are fine, and you're giving yourself time to get everything done. The only other thing I want to note with legal writing is that if you are not comfortable with legal writing, start legal writing. Just start writing, period. Write more emails to your friends. Make a blog. Comment on recipes. Do whatever you can because writing is something that you're going to commonly get better at. No one is fixed in the ability that they can write. They can always get better. Right? So that's the point of class, that's the point of all of this stuff, and that's the point of editing. Because the more shine you take to something, I guarantee your writing will sound better, and I think it'll really show. Right? If you like this video, please check out my other videos. Otherwise, please check out my podcast. It is The Citizen's Guide to the Supreme Court on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching this, and I hope you guys learned something.